Monaco has fewer than 40,000 residents, yet it hosts more billionaires per capita than anywhere on Earth, and it's no accident. The story doesn't begin with glittering casinos or yachts. It begins in 1861, when Monaco was broke. The principality had lost most of its territory to France and faced bankruptcy. A ruling family desperate for survival made a calculation. They couldn't compete militarily or industrially, but they could compete on one dimension that mattered to the wealthy: freedom from taxation. Exhibit 1: the casino monopoly. In 1863, Monaco established an official state casino, but here's the twist. Monégasques, people born in Monaco, were forbidden from gambling there. The casino was built exclusively for wealthy foreigners. This wasn't entertainment policy. It was tax policy disguised as entertainment. The revenue poured in. By the early 1900s, the casino was bankrolling nearly half the principality's entire budget. Wealthy Europeans flocked there not just to gamble, but to be in a place where their money wasn't heavily taxed. The feedback loop was clear. No taxes meant wealthy residents. Wealthy residents meant more tax revenue from other sources. The system fed itself. Exhibit 2: the citizenship trap. Monaco didn't simply lower taxes. It made citizenship extraordinarily difficult to obtain. You couldn't just move there and become a resident. You had to be approved by the prince himself. This created scarcity, and scarcity meant that living in Monaco became a status marker, a visible signal that you were wealthy enough to pass inspection. By the 1950s, this system had crystallized into something elegant and durable. Monaco had no income tax for residents. It had no capital gains tax. It had no inheritance tax. But it did have something more valuable than tax revenue. It had become the address that signaled arrival. Living in Monaco meant you'd made it. Exhibit 3: the legal fiction of residency. Here's where the system becomes systemic. Monaco doesn't care where you actually earn your money. A billionaire could run a corporation in London, conduct business in New York, but claim Monaco residency for tax purposes. As long as you could prove you spent enough days in Monaco, the principality would shelter your wealth. This wasn't unique to Monaco, but Monaco perfected it. The principality signed bilateral tax treaties with France in the 1960s. Those treaties created loopholes. A French citizen could move to Monaco, pay no income tax there, and through specific treaty provisions avoid double taxation. It was legal. It was written into law, but it was designed by people who understood exactly who would benefit. Exhibit 4: the infrastructure of wealth. Monaco then did something subtle. It didn't just create tax advantages. It created infrastructure that made those advantages actually usable. Private banks, wealth management firms, luxury real estate brokers, all licensed and regulated by the principality itself. The state became a curator of wealth-adjacent services. These banks didn't just hold money, they structured it. They created holding companies. They advised on asset allocation. And because these banks were Monégasque, they operated under Monaco's regulatory framework, which was permissive by design. The system wasn't hiding wealth, it was organizing it, making it liquid, making it transferable. By the 1980s, Monaco's population had shifted dramatically. In 1900, roughly 5% of residents were millionaires. By 1990, it was nearly 30%. This wasn't because wealthy people were having more children. It was because wealthy people were moving there. The system was working exactly as designed. Exhibit 5: the political protection. Here's the part that sealed the system. Monaco's prince wasn't elected. He was hereditary. This meant the tax policy couldn't be voted out. It couldn't be challenged by a democratic majority. It was enshrined in the fundamental structure of the state. The wealthy had protection from democratic reversal. France couldn't simply tax Monaco residents because Monaco was technically independent. Yet Monaco couldn't be truly independent because it was surrounded by France and dependent on French infrastructure. This ambiguity, this legal gray zone, became Monaco's greatest asset. It existed in a crack between nation-states. By the 2000s, international pressure mounted. The OECD, the EU, and other bodies began demanding transparency. Monaco, facing pressure it couldn't ignore, gradually opened its books. But by then, the architecture was built. The wealth was already there. The networks were already formed. The system didn't collapse, it evolved. Monaco complied with new regulations, but the fundamental advantage remained. It was small, it was exclusive, and it was willing to be a haven. The wealthy didn't stop moving there, they just became more transparent about it. What we see in Monaco is a case study in how financial systems actually work. They're not accidents, they're not natural. They're designed by people who understand incentives, who can see feedback loops, who know which levers to pull. Monaco's architects understood that if you remove taxation, wealth concentrates, and if wealth concentrates, power follows. The same logic has been replicated elsewhere. The Cayman Islands, Luxembourg, the UE, each followed Monaco's blueprint. Each understood that tax policy isn't just about revenue, it's about power. It's about which people you attract, which networks form, which decisions get made in your jurisdiction instead of someone else's. Monaco proved something that wealthy people already suspected. If you're willing to be small, exclusive, and legally ambiguous, you can become extraordinarily powerful. You can organize the world's capital on your terms. And once that system is built, it's nearly impossible to dismantle, because the people running it benefit from its existence. The unseen architects of Monaco weren't visionaries. They were pragmatists. They saw a crisis, a bankrupt state with no resources, and they solved it by understanding a simple rule: wealth flows toward places where it's treated well. They built the treatment. Everything else followed. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research. Subscribe to see how other systems were built and who benefited when they were. This video is for educational and informational purposes only and is not financial advice. Always do your own research.